Imagine waking up in a country where your opinion can get you imprisoned, where even the way you speak or the songs you sing are judged by the government, and where political freedom is a myth whispered about in quiet circles. Imagine that this country once celebrated one of the longest surviving dictatorships in modern Europe, and that its architect was a man whose personality seemed almost carved from stone. Not fiery like a revolutionary, nor charismatic like a populist leader. The name is Francisco Franco, and whether you are Spanish or not, his shadow has drifted across 20th century history like a long, cold fog. Today, we step into the world of Franco and ask not simply how he came to power, but how a shy, disciplined soldier from Galicia became the self-appointed guardian of Spain. Francisco Paulino Hermegineld Teodolo Franco Bahamonde was born on December 4, 1892, in El Ferrol, a naval town on the rugged coast of Galicia in northwest Spain. His family was not aristocratic, but they were respectable. His father, Nicolás, was a naval officer, and his mother, Maria del Pilar Bahamonde, was devout and traditional. The early life of Franco was shaped not by passion, but by pressure. His father was known to be distant, unreliable, a gambler, and eventually absent, while his mother was deeply religious, conservative, and emotionally strict. If the household had an energy, it was not warmth, but discipline, and the young Francisco absorbed it like a sponge. He was quiet, short. Even at adulthood, he barely reached 5'4", but beneath that small frame rested a stubborn resolve that would later grow into iron. Franco first aimed to follow his father and enter the Naval Academy, but Spain had recently suffered a humiliating defeat in the Spanish-American War of 1898, losing Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. The government responded by slashing naval recruitment, and Franco's path to the sea evaporated. So instead, he turned to the army, and at just 14 years old, he entered the Infantry Academy of Toledo. Military life fit him perfectly. He did not drink heavily, he did not chase reckless thrills. He was clean, precise, serious, and ambition moved through him like a current. Where many soldiers dreamed of medals, Franco dreamed of order. He climbed ranks not through grand heroic gestures, but methodical, unquestioned obedience. Promotion arrived rapidly when Spain turned to Africa. In the early 20th century, Spain attempted to strengthen its control over parts of Morocco, and the conflict known as the Rif War became a brutal proving ground. Young officers who survived became legends, many died. Franco did not die, and that alone was enough to feed myth. In North Africa, Franco earned a reputation as an officer who led from the front yet never lost his composure. He had an uncanny survival instinct, and his men believed he was protected by fate. He commanded the elite Spanish Foreign Legion and became the youngest general in Europe at just 33 years old. This was not a man whose success arrived because he was loved. His soldiers respected him because he was strict, predictable, and by their standards, terrifyingly effective. To Franco, discipline was more than military structure. It was moral truth. Chaos disgusted him. Ideology distracted him. The world needed order, and those who threatened that order were enemies, no matter who they were. By the late 1920s, Spain itself seemed trapped in chaos. Revolutions, monarchies, republics, military uprising, everything collided like a storm. The dictatorship of Miguel Primo de Rivera collapsed in 1930, and the Second Spanish Republic was declared the following year. Liberals, socialists, and secularists attempted to reshape the nation, while conservatives, monarchists, and Catholic factions resisted. Franco watched all of this with the eyes of a soldier. His loyalty was not to a political faction, but to the idea that Spain must never be weak. The Republic promoted reforms, such as the separation of church and state, land redistribution, and limits on the military. For Franco, it was an assault on tradition and stability. Yet he remained quiet, publicly loyal as long as he could. In 1934, everything changed. A leftist workers' uprising erupted in Asturias, and the government sent Franco to crush it. He did. With the cold efficiency of his African campaigns, he ordered artillery and troops into the mining towns. Thousands were killed. Franco saw himself as a surgeon, cutting a wound before infection spread. Critics saw a monster. Tension boiled. Elections swung left, then right, then left again. Spain was splitting into two cultures, one rural, Catholic, conservative, and nostalgic. The other urban, secular, socialist, and hungry for change. When the Popular Front won the 1936 election, Franco felt the final thread snapping. On July 17, 1936, the Spanish Civil War began. It was not a spontaneous riot, but a coordinated military uprising by officers, determined to stop what they saw as national collapse. Franco was in the Canary Islands when the rebellion erupted, but he joined quickly, flying to Spanish Morocco and uniting colonial forces under his command. He took on a new identity, Caudillo de España, leader of Spain. The Civil War was not simply Spanish versus Spanish. It became a clash of ideologies across Europe. Hitler and Mussolini supported the nationalists. Stalin backed the Republicans. Foreign volunteers formed the international brigades. And writers such as Ernest Hemingway and George Orwell witnessed the brutality firsthand. Entire cities burned. Air raids targeted civilians. The town of Guernica became a symbol of total war when German bombers shredded it into ash. Picasso immortalized its agony on canvas. And Franco waited. He never rushed. His armies advanced slowly, grinding down opposition with methodical cruelty. Charismatic leaders inspire rapid uprisings. Franco wielded patience like a blade. In 1939, Franco triumphed. The Republic collapsed. Franco entered Madrid, and Spain fell silent. His Spain would not speak in many languages. It would not celebrate regional identities or political pluralism. It would kneel to one flag, one Catholic soul, and one man. Franco established an authoritarian regime that fused nationalism, military dominance, and Catholic morality. Political parties were outlawed, trade unions were restricted, press was controlled. Tens of thousands of opponents were imprisoned or executed. Families whispered at dinner tables because even the walls were said to listen. And yet Franco was not a reckless tyrant. He was calculating. When World War II erupted, he resisted Hitler's pressure to join. He admired the Axis powers, but he knew Spain was too weak, exhausted from civil war. He offered moral support to Germany and allowed a volunteer division to fight in the Soviet Union, but he never formally entered the war. In this way, Franco avoided total destruction and preserved his regime. His dictatorship adapted with time. In the 1940s, Spain was internationally isolated and poverty strangled it. But by the late 1950s, Franco embraced technocrats and opened the economy to limited modernization. Tourism exploded. Middle-class families grew. Foreign investors arrived. Spain changed on the surface, but politically, the Iron Curtain remained. Franco ruled until age itself began to slow him. Unlike many authoritarian leaders, Franco planned his legacy meticulously. He restored the Spanish monarchy, but not as it had been. He chose Juan Carlos, the grandson of Alfonso XIII, bypassing the rightful heir. The king would be trained in Francoist ideology and expected to continue authoritarian rule. Franco believed he had solved Spain's destiny permanently. He underestimated the world. When Franco died on November 20, 1975, after decades of ruling Spain with an unshakable grip, the new king quietly dismantled the dictatorship. Within a few years, Spain held democratic elections and began its transition to a modern state. What Franco tried to freeze melted. What he tried to silence erupted into culture, art, and politics. Today, his legacy remains bitterly contested. Some remember him as the man who saved Spain from leftist chaos. Many more see him as a dictator responsible for repression, censorship, mass graves, and the suffocation of generations. His body was removed from the Valley of the Fallen, the monumental site he envisioned as his eternal shrine. Spain could no longer accept honoring his name with grandeur. Francisco Franco was not a dramatic character like Mussolini, nor a philosophical tyrant like Lenin. He was something colder. He believed that stability was worth any price and that dissent was disease. He embodied the idea that authoritarianism does not always burst into the world with fanfare and fire. Sometimes it arrives with discipline, a calm voice, a military uniform, and a promise to make the chaos stop. That is how a quiet boy from Galicia shaped an entire nation for nearly 40 years. A man who viewed democracy as weakness, who ruled with patience, not passion, and who left behind a span desperate to breathe. The story of Franco is not a tale of charisma or revolution, but a warning.